So we're here with Russell Armstrong, the inventor of Hotun and the Hotun range of products. Russell, how are you?
Morning, Joe. Very well, thank you. Very well.
Good. How are you keeping?
Yeah, good, thank you. We've been really lucky the last 2 or 3 weeks with this really good weather we've been having. Last couple of days tells you how miserable it would have been if it had been pouring with rain the last 3 weeks. So
yeah, that's a very good point. So we're here because you've got an exciting new product that you would have launched out in sort of 2020, but are still launching. But let's start with right back at the beginning. A few years ago, you'll be able to fill me in. But what was your background, and can you tell us how you came about with the invention of the Hotun?
Okay, so my background is out of school. I was HVAC design engineer, heating, ventilating, air conditioning design engineer. Then I got into technical sales years later, and then I set up my own kitchen and bathroom fitting company as a one-man band company. Did that for a few years, and then I changed the company into doing small and minor repairs. So what I call like fixing taps and bulbs, and that in terms of as a financial what's the right word? Bringing in good financials is quite good. I do 5, 6, 7 jobs a day, all earning reasonably good money, good triage over the phone. So that worked really well. And then while I was doing one of those particular jobs, I came across this situation where I had to have a product that would do a certain job. And I was connected a small unvented water heater to a macerator in the middle of a factory unit. So I thought, okay, that's fine. I needed a tundish and I needed something to stop the smells coming back. And there wasn't a single product solution that I could find out there. And funnily enough, at the time, I was looking to go on The Apprentice. Not that I would get anywhere, but I thought, I could do better than those people, And I thought, but I needed a business idea. And because Alan Sugar is the kind of guy he is, he would like a product-derived business idea. So I thought, I wonder if I could devise a product that would work in that scenario. So sat on my drawing board, sketched something up and come up with what I thought would be viable. I then thought, right, rather than just in theory it be viable, I wanted to make one and cobble something together. So I got my wife's uncle to do a 3D picture, and we produced that. That is the very, very first Hotun tundish, or what was to become the Hotun tundish, that I've ever produced. So I cobbled together using, if I'll show you I got a bolt, just grabbed a bolt that would fit, cobbled it together, and it worked when I fitted it onto my unvented cylinder. At that point, I thought, well, if it would work and I can produce it cheaply enough and I would buy it, would other people buy it? And that was the start of the whole journey. Alan Sugar's application got parked because now I had something that I thought would be viable. As it happens, when I turned around to Ali, because up to that point, this little design was a Project X in the garden shed kind of thing, and it was just a bit of fun. And then I said to Ali, I think this is viable. We need to borrow some money. And she said, how much? I told her, and when she got back up off the floor, she basically said, Russ, if you think this would be a viable option, then I'll support you all the way. So that's where we started. We borrowed, we got 2 personal loans out, and basically with our own money started the whole thing off.
Yeah, so this was because the first show that you attended was 2016.
Correct,
the second
yes.
one we did, yeah. So how,
yes.
And then you've been with us ever since, and you've done Scotland as well. So how has the kind of journey evolved for you from, making the product, inventing the product, getting it to market, coming to your first installer show, and then to where we are today?
Yeah, well, when I started the journey and we got all the 3D, we moved from 3D printing to injection molding, which you have to do to commercialize the product. We got through loads of trials and tribulations of getting that all technically feasible. I then introduced onto the market with the very first product, which was as we see it now, the hotun, and it came in four sections that are all ultrasonically welded, and then the valve gets assembled there. And we'd been selling, we launched it simply a year before we came with you, and we was just selling it on the website. And we sold 12 products in about 2 or 3 weeks, very small beginnings. And we got a phone call from a guy in Scotland, said, could we fit the tundish on the boiler? And I said, I've got no idea, because I designed it for small unvented, but it's a PRV, temperature rated, couldn't see any difference technically. I said, what's the problem? And he said, he's trying to drill through a 600 mil thick stone wall, which is like bitty tough. So I said, well, technically, I can't see why you can't use the product. What's the problem? He said, well, the boiler manufacturer that he was thinking of using said that if they fitted my product, it would invalidate the warranty. Okay, so I fired a question off to another manufacturer saying, this is a product that I've come across, or I've invented. If I fitted it onto your boiler, would it validate the warranty? They came back to me and said, well, we've not seen the product before. It wouldn't invalidate the warranty. So yeah, you could use one of our boilers. Okay, so in that instance, the guy didn't want to change the specification. So we didn't make our 13th sale then. Because every product that I sold, one at a time, was all starting at the building blocks. But then we got an email from this company, and you know, it was Worcester Bosch, with words to the effect of, Russ, we like your product, can you come in and have a chat? So considering that was like 4 weeks after I'd launched, to get somebody like Worcester Bosch to invite me in was an incredible situation. So I went to see them, and they said, yeah, we think you've resolved a problem we've been trying to look into for the last couple of years. And I've gone, pardon? You know, well, my product is the solution you're looking for. And they went, yeah. Now, as it happened, cut a long story short, the small version couldn't cope with the flow that the output the boiler put out, because I hadn't designed it for that, which is, you know, fair enough. So they said, go away, come back when you've designed a product that can cope, and then we've got something we can work with. So I then obviously produced one with which is now to become what's known as the high flow. That worked, and Worcester Bosch said, thank you very much, we'll accept your product for use. So the very first show that I did in 2016 with you guys was basically the launch of our revised product, the high flow. So now we had 2 products in the profile, or the portfolio, and first year sales of that one were 900 units, and with Worcester Bosch's acceptance, second year sales were 14,000. So at installer, there was a great buzz. You know, it was a great product, as you know. Can you remember when we went back there, the buzz we had on social media about the whole show? It was really exciting, and which is one of the reasons why, you know, I'm so faithful to you guys, because launching there, it's an intrinsic part of my journey.
Yeah, so then the new product would have been launched in sort of 2020, obviously a situation that none of us would have foreseen, and we now, luckily, we can do it digitally, which is good, so you're part of this process as well. But so this is a real game changer for you as a brand, and just generally for the industry, isn't it?
Yes, because as we know, I don't know the actual audience we're going out to, but I dare say it's predominantly guys who already know what they're doing. But there might be a few people out there that we reach that might not understand. But the whole concept of the tundish on a dripping PRV is you can see the water going through as a warning that there's something wrong with the system. And whilst that's good that we can see what's going on, somebody's got to notice that that's happening, to then be motivated to want to do something about it. So on an unvented cylinder, if you've got drip, 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 and that is in an airing cupboard, although it's visible, it's not noticed. And then even if it is noticed, because it's going drip in there, it's going to waste, so it's not causing a nuisance. So the householder comes along, goes, okay, that's wet. They think that it's supposed to be wet, and that's what it's supposed to do. So everybody's forgotten that water, like the customers have forgotten that water is their cue to get something done. So when we produce the alarm unit, the critical parts of the alarm unit or the critical decision making, is that it's compact, it's economically viable to produce, and that I can bring it to a market at a price that the installer is happy to pay. So in terms of the product itself,
and all it does... This is the hot and detect, isn't it?
This is hot and detect, yes. So we've got a little sensor board there that senses water on one side and via a thermistor temperature on the other side. And then the unit simply hooks onto the side, and then the sensor probe sits just above where the puddle will form when water drips into the tundish. And it's that sensitive that the moisture on my skin will set that off. So that then will start chirping every 20 seconds in the cupboard. And of course, the home user or the building user will hear that. And then we've got a nice little instruction on there. If this unit sounds, please contact your professional installer engineer. The customer then is, what's the right word? It's a call to action that they've now got to do something. They can then reset, hit the mute button. So that will now go quiet for 12 hours. The customer will phone up the installer or the service engineer and say, oh, I've got an alarm going off, what's going on? He'll say, you've got water dripping out your pressure relief valve. That needs either a service, a repair, or something to fix it. I'll be there in a few days' time when I can book you in. So the whole point of the tundish is a passive warning system. We've now got an active warning system that hopefully will lead to more work for the installers, because the customer now knows there's something wrong.
Yeah, you mentioned before you've seen some images that installers have posted. This dripping water can do a lot of damage to heating systems, can't it? And it can also cost homeowners a lot of money because of wasted water, wasted heat to heat the water.
Yes, not so much damage, because obviously the tundish accepts the water and then that goes into drain, and likewise my unit accepts about between 5 and 25 millilitres of water before the resistance of the spring is overcome, and then it goes to waste. So there's not damage caused by water. But what we do find is that on an unvented cylinder, if that continuously drips and goes unnoticed, it builds up limescale. And we've seen, or I've seen on social media, horrendous pictures of tundishes that are so caked full of limescale that the limescale has then blocked the flow of water, and then the flow of water, if it carries on, then can escape, which eventually might cause damage. But the whole point of the water dripping is telling that, somebody comes into that cupboard and sees the tundish caked in limescale, aren't they thinking there's something wrong here? That's the point, is that they're not connecting this dripping water with a warning that there's something wrong.
Yeah, and homeowners don't have the technical knowledge and know-how to know that there is an issue. They will just assume that that's fine, especially if you've come into a rented property, or you've got a new property, and
yes,
you don't have that reliable installer to come in.
Yes, and you talked about warning. Years ago, when we had overflows going outside, you know, you had your toilet system, and the overflow would go outside and drip on the floor. That was designed to drip and cause a nuisance to get it repaired. We're now bringing all those overflows inside the building, dripping into the toilet pan, overflows through, you know, various different ways, all inside. And over years, we've lost this association between something dripping and something going wrong. Now, if you've got a puddle of water on your path, or your path is wet because there's a pipe up there that's dripping, somebody's going to go, is that supposed to happen? No. They do something about it. When it's dripping into the toilet pan, they don't even see it's dripping. So all of these things are happening. Now, we talked about wasting water. I do know the industry is very, very aware of wasting resources, energy, water. So if a water in a pressure relief valve goes dripping and all this limescale built up, how much water's lost? All that water's had to be heated, so that's all energy wasted that doesn't need to be wasted. So that's where the alarm comes into its own. It alerts. First time it runs, it alerts there's something wrong. Then people go, oh, okay, I now need to do something about it. And then the homeowner can save themselves all that hassle of, say, a boiler. Distinctly different from an unvented cylinder. An unvented cylinder, if that keeps on dripping and dripping and dripping, nothing happens because it's mains fed. So that's a lot of water wasted. On a boiler, if the pressure relief valve drips on a boiler, eventually the boiler locks out on low pressure. Now, all of a sudden, at the worst part of the heating system, your boiler's not working. They phone up their installer and go, oh, my boiler's stopped working, it's broken. It's an emergency because it's now, they need heat, they need hot water, and the boiler's locked out. So again, with the alarm unit, and if that's an emergency, they phone the installer up, and the installer says, I'm in the middle of doing another job, I can't get to you for a few days. This customer will then go, oh, okay, they'll phone other installers, and they'll get somebody else to repair the job, and you might lose that customer because you're not available for the emergency. Whereas if the alarm goes off before the boiler locks out on low pressure, the customer phones you up and you say, okay, not a problem, that's not critical, I can get there in a few days' time, let's plan that in, and everything's planned in and nobody has to do any emergency work. So then a few days' time, he goes along, fixes whatever's wrong with the boiler, the expansion vessel or the pressure relief valve has, maybe it's failed itself, and it's all on non-emergency work.
Yeah, so you've got lots of benefits for domestic engineers and for householders, but this is also a product that would be interesting for light commercial and commercial work as well.
Yes, we've got, again, if you go with this device, it's battery operated. So it's our entry-level product. Rome wasn't built in a day, so we have to start somewhere. People say, oh, you could do this with it and you could do that and you could develop it into other things that makes it far more commercially viable, which we're going to be doing. So yes, in a commercial environment, if the facilities manager knows that there's an unvented cylinder that's got water passing out the pressure relief valve, he then knows that he wants to go and maintain that cylinder, and then he knows that the building isn't going to be wasting water. So on a microscopic scale, water going out of one pressure relief valve, it's important. But then when you consider that how many hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of pressure relief valves might all be letting by, or there's a warning or whatever it is, then if everybody all of a sudden realizes that's what it means, all those problems get fixed instead of going unnoticed. And if they need fixing, that's work for the installers. So it's generating good work and saving the householder the waste of water and energy. So it's kind of like a win-win.
Yeah, were there any regulations surrounding the product that installers need to be specifically aware of?
That's a very good point there. I'm glad you asked that one. Okay, so there's so many little bits that make this the hot detect so exciting, is that when we look at the G3 regulations, in there's a little paragraph that nobody's ever really noticed or taken any attention to, that says basically consideration should be given to the pressure relief discharge through the tundish for visually and mobility impaired people. And that's paragraph G 3.55. And they suggest that the answer to that is, e.g., an electronic product of some description. So that to me is an audible and visual warning that there's something wrong. So hot detect actually answers that question. Now, I'm surprised that nobody before me has actually thought that that was a commercially viable option. There's obviously reasons why nobody has actually taken up that part of the G3 regulations till now. So I don't know if it's technically, there's something about, well, I do know that technically hotun has the ability to have a little puddle of water in here. So a probe only needs to go into one part of that puddle in order to detect the water. If it didn't form the puddle, how would I know where the water's going to drop? So I'd have to have sensors all over the place to make sure I detected the water. By collecting the water into the puddle, 1 point, and that's us done. We're bringing this to market for a recommended price of just under £18.
So for just under £18, you'd be compliant with that particular part of the legislation?
Yeah, I mean, compliant. They've said consideration should be given to. So we're just saying it's in the regulations. Here's the product that resolves that consideration. And at £18, that's the problem solved. Now, of course, on top of everybody else who might want to save water, save the energy, heat the water, the installers who don't want emergency call-outs will get called out from planned maintenance now. The installers who might pick up extra work. I mean, let's say you have an air bubble type of cylinder that we all know loses its little air bubble cushion. When it loses its cushion, it starts to dump excess pressure out the pressure relief valve. And if that goes on continuously, there's no work. Now there's an alarm. Somebody, an installer, is going to get called out to fix that air bubble, and they're going to earn some revenue for doing that fix. So we're actually generating, hopefully, more work for the installers. And a couple of the installers actually phoned up and said, well, the first time that happens, I'm going to earn more money on the fix than I've paid for the £18 for the alarm. So that's a lifetime benefit for that customer and that installer.
If I'm an installer and I've spent the last 3 years installing your tundishes, can I now go back and fit the detect onto those to then sort of offer that service to service and protection to my customer?
Yes, the whole point is that is designed to be retrofittable to any of the tundishes that are currently the hotun, the Ratec tundishes that are on the market at the moment. So it's retrospectively fittable. Yes.
And then, as an installer, if I want to get my hands on one of these, how do I go about that?
Okay, so at the moment, as with any new product, we've got to get this into the supply chain. Our distributors are currently taking on board stocks when we've got them available, and obviously any of the merchants can buy off the distributors. Any merchant who currently buys our hotun tundishes can, through their same distributor, buy hotun detect. So all we want is for any of the guys out there, the installers who might want one, is on our website we've got what we call an expression of interest form. So if they simply go onto the website, fill that form out, we can then go to the merchant that they would buy and say, listen, Mr. XYZ merchant. We've had 3 or 4 inquiries for our tundish from your customers. Would you like to buy them, you know, buy a few of them to service your customers? And then we start the ball slowly rolling. It's merchants don't stock the unit unless it's asked for. People won't ask for it unless they know about it. So merchants don't say, oh yeah, we'll buy 10,000 of those in the hope that they'll sell them. We've got to do a top-down, bottom-up approach. And that's what worked really successfully back in 2016 with you guys. So many people came to our stand and saw this little innovative tundish. They started asking their merchants for it, and then the merchants asked us where can they get hold of it, and we said great, go through our distributor, and then everything started rolling. I think it's fair to say that we're the tundish is now available in all of the UK merchant market, 80% of it at least. So we've been highly successful with getting it to market. I'm very proud that the product has had such success, but it's been a team effort, you know, from you guys helping promote it, from us driving it there to the installers who have chosen to use it. You know, it's a huge thank you to everybody for getting it. And at the end of the day, for about 18 or 20 pound, it makes the installer's job easier.
Yeah, so if installers want more information, or they want to, you know, talk more about the existing products or the new Detect, how do they get in touch? Where can they find the resources to like, educate themselves more?
Okay, they can go onto our website as the first step, which is www.hotun.co.uk, and just have a look around the website. All the technical information is on there. They can go to their hot merchant. All the nationals stock them, and many of the independents stock them already. So again, they can ask their merchant. And if anybody's got any specific questions, I'm here to answer technical questions. And we've got a small team. It's myself, Ali, my wife, and Andy Patterson, who's our business development director. We're all here and we're all willing and to help out anybody in any way we can. So drop us an email and we'll get back to you. So yeah, it's just a case of shouting out and letting us know that you want more information.